two frequencies, two big voices to fill them up. Jack and Dave in the morning on 1400 AM and 94.5 FM. KLIN.
8:38, Jack and Dave in the morning. I'm Dave Miller. Chris, Coach Whitney, helping me hold down the fort while Jack Mitchell's out. But joining me in studio, like he does occasionally, to talk all things digital and everything wonderful that's going to change our lives, that has a silicon chip in it. Jason Petersen from Turbine Digital. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Yeah, we're good.
Good.
Are you kidding? We're dining out on king cake.
Dave's got that sugar in him, and he's all
I'm
all over
what,
the place now.
I am buzzing like the chief executive officer at the Mountain Dew factory. That's a lot of sugar in that thing. Wow.
Holy cow, that thing was monstrous.
You got to get up these before you
huge.
get out of here.
Okay, yeah, I got one.
It's going to be hard to do this interview with that across the room, to be real honest with you. Not that you're not a good-looking man, but, dude, there's king cake in here. All right, so we're going to talk a couple of things that I don't understand, and rightly so, because I don't think most people do. And the first is Google Glass. Now, the way that I understand it, Apple stock has been falling big time. And with Steve Jobs gone, they're not the company they were a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. And with the stock falling, Google's taking advantage of that and really pushing hard on this product called Google Glass. Explain to the listeners what Google Glass is and what its potential uses are.
I mean, I think that the next wave of innovation right now is wearable technology. Now, I think most of it up to this point has been pretty gadgety. You know, they've had the Pebble, you know, the watch, but the problem is most people don't wear watches anymore.
Because of their cell phones, their smartphones, yeah.
Exactly. So there's this whole sort of new market, and quite frankly, that's what Apple has not done. I mean, they've been reinventing and upgrading some of their existing products, but the investors out there want to see a new entire opportunity in the marketplace to be developed for consumable, marketable technology. So Google Glass is an interesting thing. I mean, for those that are out there, like I say, watch Star Trek or something like that. You got this thing you wear. It's standard sort of like stylish looking glasses,
right?
And then it's got kind of a mounted sort of computer based camera with some other tricked out features that it can do. Kind of like think of it as sort of a virtual smartphone that's going to be connected to some glasses. So at the like you said, at the core, you're like, well, what's that for? I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
So I mean, to me, it's intriguing. I mean, it's cool. But we're going to have to see what if it sticks and if it's really going to be something people use.
I could see just right off the bat. I'm watching this video online right now as we speak, as a matter of fact, from an article about it online. But and it's what it would look like if you're wearing Google Glass as you're skydiving and flying a plane and all this other kind of stuff, which is not practical to most of us. The most practical uses I can think of for this thing, besides just being a regular walking around consumer like we are, is if you're a doctor. I can see medical applications for this and the military. I can see coordinates or orders or something like that being given to you in a text form, so there isn't any chatter, so it's not going to be intercepted in radio waves or whatever. This is probably going to run off Bluetooth technology, I'm assuming.
Yeah, definitely. That's what I'm
hearing. But other than that, I mean, when you're walking down the street, do you see a modern day application for this other than what the current time is?
I think the only other thing I can see, and quite frankly, I almost see it more as a business application than I do a consumer.
Oh, yeah.
Because training videos, educational, pick something where you can't hold with your hand a smartphone and do a video and try to sit and give some discussion on what something is. I think of like the restaurant industry. If you're training a bunch of chefs and you're trying to sit there and put together some sort of ingredient thing. I don't know. I mean, I see it in a training application perspective.
Sure.
I think that's where what comes to mind. They showed some samples of more in the family and just and the dad being somewhere else, and kind of like a FaceTime on steroids, where you'll be able to do a little bit more intimate and get to show things more real time that is not so just hold a phone in your hand. So again, it's in early beta, and they're releasing it right now to developers. And I think we were talking earlier, these are going for $15,000 on eBay. And again, they have a released, a minimal release that they've put out there in the marketplace. But I would say there's a lot of functionality that's not been flushed out, but I think it really boils down to is, are consumers willing to wear gadgets? We wear Bluetooths,
Right.
and there's a very functional benefit there. So I think, like you said, there has to be a strong enough benefit that
Right.
consumers would want to wear it.
The one thing that I can think of that I would wear it for, apart from there's got to be more than just two people wearing them, otherwise you look like a dork. And I think that's going to be a big factor. When you talk about wearing anything, there's a fashion thing involved. And so you're going to hit price points where, okay, everybody's got a glass type product, but people aren't going to want to wear the low end stuff, and that stuff isn't going to work. But if you're traveling through an airport and you're able to put in your flight number and your departure gate and whether or not it's on time, and you're able to see that as you're walking through the terminal,
Correct.
that would be awesome.
Yep. It does have like a screen where you can see stuff. Again, think, Minority Report and things
Right.
like that, where it's going to be in there. You can actually activate that to see that in your eye. But, the other part of it is, people love to, share stupid stuff.
Yeah.
So the other part of it is, there might just be this gadgety stupidity that's a part of it, besides practical application. So you're right. There's this sort of crapshoot on whether it's going to be adopted. They were trying to put this in the hands of people that have influence in pop culture.
Right.
And that's, I think if they can do that legitimately and people actually care, like I think as Alicia Keys, was endorsing BlackBerry. No one cares. Okay, that doesn't help.
Take it, BlackBerry's dead.
No, it's not gonna get back to its glory days.
Never.
So again, if it's interactive technology, if it's something like you said that people think is fun, that's cool. Just all this stuff that, quite frankly, with social media, we never really guessed that it would have been popular, but it became popular. So it was kind of interesting.
Huh. Do you see a time where this wearable technology that they'll have a ban on it? Because immediately what I thought of is, because you can shoot video of this and record, but you can also send it over the internet live too. So you can do two-way talking. You think there'll be bans one day where you'll go into a movie theater and they'll say, hand over your device because we're not going to be able to record this because of copyright infringement or whatever?
You're right. There's two areas I think of. It's going to be security and copyright, and there's our laws are outrageously outdated as it comes to that stuff.
Yeah.
So they're going to have a mess on their hands, and it's going to require lawmakers to somewhat understand this from an intelligence perspective of what it is.
Let's shift gears a little bit. We're still talking about technology, but we just had the Oscars on Sunday, and I know that there was a lot of new technology that was involved with the Oscars that hadn't been before. You want to talk a little bit about that?
I think the big thing is, and obviously live tweets have been around and all that stuff like that, but just the massive engagement that is happening on some of these events, it's just ridiculous. I think the stats were Facebook had 22 million posts, and there was about 9 million tweets. That's one event. That's massive. So,
and I took up 1 million of those, by the way. I live tweeted the first half of it. I think I got 20 out there, something like that. I was making fun of everything.
Okay. Well, see, it's just showing that there is such a, I don't know. To some degree, people keep asking me, really, are we hitting a saturation point? But I don't know. I can't. I keep waiting for something to demonstrate that people have had enough sharing, and at least from what we're seeing, there continues to be an increase. And then it really for business owners and for consumers, it's just how can you be part of a conversation that gets through the noise? That's the challenge.
One of the things that I don't like about this live sharing thing is, and by the way, you want to talk about the master of live event sharing, he's sitting across the board from me. So when there's a Husker football game, or if he's at a Husker basketball game, and sometimes just stuff that you're watching on TV that isn't available to us, because we've got a media pass and it's out of town or whatever, you'll live tweet all the time, Chris, right?
Yeah, and honestly, you have to. I suppose with baseball, I live tweeted the first baseball game of the season. That's a little different. Like during football games or something like that, where most of the people have access to it or listening on the radio or something, you have to walk that fine line between not tweeting every little thing necessarily, but tweeting out the relevant information on that. And I think there was I came across a few people that are really good to do that for the Oscars and had some good takes on that. So,
which is great, but here's the problem with that. While I appreciate what you do and what those people for the Oscars were doing, and then there are people like me who have nothing relevant to say. I'm just making fun of everybody during the Oscars. Yeah, kind of. No, you know what I'm saying. It just snarky comments. It's funny. It's what we do on the show here. It's just I'm doing it live during the Oscars, and I didn't tell anybody I was doing it. I just did it, and a lot of the viewers jumped in on what I was doing, or listeners jumped in on what I was doing. But what I don't like is, okay, Chris is doing that. I'm doing it. You're doing it. Next thing you know, you got 25 people that are all sitting at the baseball game doing the same thing, and it's just so much. Your phone just blows up, and it's flashing and beeping, and there's got to be a way to sort some of this stuff out, and Twitter hasn't given you the option to do that yet.
No, I think that's part of the aspect. I think Twitter will start to evolve, because clearly there's a type of engagement with Twitter that's different than Facebook,
right?
Which is different than YouTube and different with Instagram and so forth. So it's unique. It has a part of it that's really cool. But like you said, this stuff gets very noisy. There's a lot of stupid stuff. There's a lot of things that aren't valuable.
Right.
So the things that I've read, nothing's been released about Twitter. Is they're still looking at, as they gather this data, kind of like Facebook and their whole social graph thing, and trying to help people find things more effectively, how they evolved the news feed, whether we liked it or we didn't. I think Twitter's going to start providing some of those tools and options over time, because now they're starting to get a data set that's so large. They're like, okay, we need to make this easier so you get your trending topics and hashtags and all the stuff that you really care about on a regular basis, and you can filter stuff out.
You know what's weird about technology right now? When computers became prevalent and everybody had one at a certain, not everybody, but I mean, there was this threshold point that we crossed where business went, okay, you need a computer for this. We're not buying any more typewriters. And when that happened, you would have these spurts of growth once every 18 months, but then you'd have 18 months off. It just seems like this technology is not slowing down, but I don't see any real changes. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that's like Twitter, that's sort of like Facebook, that's like your smartphone. But Google Glass and these wristwatches they're talking about from Apple really are the only new things that I've seen in the last 3-4 years. Even Apple itself, they didn't reinvent the iPad. They just made it smaller.
No, you're correct. I think we've seen a lot of evolutionary technology. I mean, clearly the social part of technology has been the latest wave we've gone through. I'm with you. Where it goes next from here, I mean, it's, we can all forecast, but I'm intrigued to see. I mean, what it boils down to is whenever you have mass adoption with people that don't like technology, that's when things change. The cycle I think we're in now is that there's this constant buzz, and I'm kind of in the entrepreneurial culture where people are just relentlessly trying to innovate.
Right.
And I think that kind of culture, I mean, people forget that during some of the worst times of the internet, after the .com bust, man, that's all when all of this stuff started to happen.
Right.
Google was born and so forth, and Amazon came out of that, and so I think sometimes when there are challenges, I mean, that's my prediction is when we just went through this big recession, that made people have to innovate. I'm a big Shark Tank guy, and I like to watch that stuff, and it's amazing when you make people, when their back's against the wall, they got to come up with something, and so I think there's going to be some innovations that come to the surface, whether it's through Kickstarter or stuff like this. There's the availability for things to be thought of and get funding for that did not in the past.
Right. I like Kickstarter a lot. I like to go just for an hour's worth of entertainment. Sure. It's fun to just browse and see what people are putting out there.
Sure.
Because you'll run across something where you go, oh, that's a cool idea. And then there's other stuff like, how do you really think that you're going to get money for that? What I notice is, especially locally here, a lot of the stuff dies on the vine without funding.
Exactly. I agree.
But three quarters of those things shouldn't be put up on Kickstarter anyway. It's just like, I'm not going to help you build an office building. Go to a bank,
Exactly. No, I mean there has to be the bad ideas weeded out.
Right.
But what I would say that's the good part is innovation is alive and well, whether it's locally, regionally, or nationally. And I think we'll just have to pay attention what the next big idea will be.
We didn't get to talk about it in depth, and we got to wrap up here. But real quickly, 1 or 2 sentences. What are you a bigger fan of? App development, mobile web?
Probably 75% mobile web.
You think so?
For practical use, unless you're a business that has specific needs that are more than a website, that's when you use an app.
Well, he said it, and he ought to know because he works at Turbine Digital. Tell us how to get a hold of you for all of your technology needs.
It'd be this is turbine.com. We've got all our social feeds there. We're just at This Is Turbine, Twitter, Facebook.com/This Is Turbine.
There you go. There you have it. Jason Petersen, thanks a lot for coming in, and let's get you a big piece of king cake over there.
Can't wait, guys.
See, we're talking digital, but when it comes to analog, you want the cake, man.
I want the cake, guys.
We'll be back to wrap up the show. Jack and Dave in the morning on 1400 AM KLIN.